one of the most interesting things about Mondays is we think about it being kind of the start of the work week, and one of the beautiful things about Jesus' ministry is that he actually affirms work by doing work himself. He says that he is working, even though he is working just like the Father is working, and so I wanted to talk some about Jesus' work on earth, and he had an interesting job description. But let me get to this first. Think about maybe the worst job that you've had. We've probably all had jobs like that we didn't we didn't like. They were, I don't know, boring, or uh, as terrible as those things may have been. They are things that we could bear because we could say, look, I'm not going to do this forever. I can do anything for a year, or I can do anything for a couple of years, or whatever. Um, But after you finish that time, doesn't it make you appreciate someone who does that kind of long term, or perhaps even chooses to do that? Think about Jesus' job description from day one. We've all had terrible jobs, but think about Jesus' job, the one that he had. This was his job description. The applicant will die a violent, unjust death at the hands of people who have been poking fun at you for your entire professional career, and all of your friends are going to leave you, and they're going to pretend that they don't even know you. And that's what he knew he was getting into. But he did not have this terrible job for the same reason we often have terrible jobs. It wasn't because he couldn't get another. It was because this is what he chose as his life work. And that is because he knew that his sacrifice was necessary for us to be able to claim right standing before God. Jesus' death was not a defeat, even though it was embarrassing. It was painful. It was violent. It was unjust. All those things, but it was not a defeat. It was a victory because it was the victory of God and his redemptive plan. Jesus suffered the unthinkable so that we could experience the unreachable. We cannot attain the righteousness that God requires. And so we had to have someone do it for us. And Jesus considered it worthwhile, even with that terrible job description. He considered it worthwhile because he knew that he could redeem his people. So think this morning with me, how does the purposeful sacrifice of Jesus, how can it transform our work? How can it encourage us as we're doing work, even if it seems boring and monotonous? And even our ministry to our neighbors, to our coworkers. How can it transform our lives in that way? A couple weeks ago, we read Isaiah 53, and I want to touch on it again just as a reminder. But read it on your own if you get time. I think it's worth a reread. And take a minute to just meditate on what Jesus has given up for you. Remember what it says about him. Think of this like a job description. Surely he bore our griefs, so he must be carrying all our sadness. He must be wounded. He must be crushed. Upon him was our chastisement. Um, and he has to have iniquity laid on him. And Jesus did these things for us because he considered it worth it. I want to encourage everyone as we get a new work week off the ground here. I want to encourage you that the work you're doing is not meaningless. The work you're doing is not forever. And part of that is because Jesus has redeemed the world through his sacrifice, so that one day work will not be frustrating. One day work will not be boring. And one day it will not be toilsome. And that's a hope I want you to hold on to this week as you go out to your work week. Blessings, everyone, this week.